Hey everybody, welcome back to the Geek Corner. I'm John Lorden, and today we're going to talk about, it's kind of a split subject. We're going to talk about two different things. Number one, I got a new TV. There's nothing I love more than getting a new TV because you're always bumping into new technology, better image quality and all this good stuff. I did spring for a 4K TV, 55 inch. It's very, very nice. I love that it has a bunch of apps already integrated into the television, so if I want to watch Hulu or Netflix or YouTube, I don't have to have my Xbox on at the same time. It's just a little bit less electricity to burn. I'm always worried about Xboxes since the whole red ring of death fiasco that happened with the 360. So far, the Xbox Ones have been very stable. Knock on wood, but I think it's nice to give them a break every now and then, so I'm glad that I'm not watching all of my content through my Xbox One. In terms of image quality, the 4K stuff, there's not a lot of 4K content out there. I mean, they are now selling new 4K, I don't know if they're still Blu-ray or if it's a new disc format, but like for example, I bought Deadpool on 4K, so but I don't have a player for it yet, but I'm just assuming that by Christmas the player prices will come down and I can get it. There are some apps where you can watch 4K footage, but there's not a whole lot of selection in those apps yet. It is worth noting that when you do watch some 4K footage, it's pretty amazing. I mean, it's essentially, we had that jump from VHS to DVD, and that was pretty dramatic. That's kind of where I put this jump from HD to 4K. It is pretty dramatic. There are scenes where you're looking, especially at if you can find something that has nature in it or buildings and things like that, you feel like you're looking right through a window out into reality. It's really, really crazy. And the upconverting seems to work pretty well too. If you've got regular DVDs or Blu-rays that you're playing, the television does this upconverting routine where it basically tries to fill in those extra lines that are missing. It seems to adjust the contrast and the color a little bit and kind of pop those, and it looks pretty dang good. I've been really, really happy with it. There's been a few little things. For example, I don't know if you've noticed this, but starting about maybe 5 years ago or so, they've started adding these new features. It's almost this like motion blurring technology where they will try to bring up the frame rate, and they do that by essentially creating the frames in between. I know this might be really geeky for some of you out there, but I'm sure most of you know what I'm talking about. And that effect makes some footage look very hokey and almost like things are sped up in a weird way. Some people also complain that it looks like video camera footage when that effect is on. Unfortunately, most TVs nowadays are coming with that already turned on by default, but luckily this TV that I have is full of options, and you can go through and they have kind of different levels of that type of, I think it's called Cinemotion in the Sony TVs, the Cinemotion settings. So you can kind of tune that down and get what seems to be a bit more of a natural frame rate where it doesn't look like it's been some kind of hokey computer animation or video camera footage, which it unfortunately looks like in some ways. So the TV has taken some tuning. The other thing which was really mind-boggling was I'd be watching some content and it would seem like the lip sync was off, that essentially the sound was coming out not a full second, but maybe like a half second slower than the video footage, and it was really noticeable if you were watching concert footage basically. But even on other shows, I love American Pickers, and I was trying to watch an episode of that, and it was driving me nuts because their lips weren't lining up, and especially because they will go to a close-up of one of the guys talking. The actual edits weren't lining up because you would still hear them talking after the scene had cut away to the next scene, or you would see their face pop on, but and their mouth start moving, but they hadn't started saying what they were going to say yet. It was really, really bizarre. So I had some friends over. We were trying to watch some concert footage, and they were all asking, what's up with this lip sync thing? So I did some searching online. I didn't find anything in particular to help me, but then I did some testing. So here's a little tidbit if you're ever running into this issue. First of all, I have an audio receiver down there with a surround sound system. And I was curious if that was causing the delay, because some of the things that I found online said, oh, it's probably your audio system, you're going to have to adjust the delay there. So a good way to test that, if you're ever in this situation, is to turn up the sound on your TV so that it's about at the same level as your surround sound system. If you don't hear a delay between those, so in essence, if it doesn't sound like there's an echo happening, that means that your audio system is getting the sound from the TV in perfect time. If there was another delay happening at your audio system, you would hear a distinct echo. It would be like it would come through the TV first, and then some number of milliseconds later, it would come through your surround sound system. That was not the case. So I knew at that point, okay, this is another TV setting, something they've got turned on by default that I need to figure out and turn off. And I dove into the audio settings, and indeed, they had some type of audio process. I can't remember the exact name of it, but look in your audio settings, and anything that is, quote, enhancing the audio, turn it off. As soon as I did that, problem solved, no more lip sync issues. And I don't know what enhancement it was really doing to the audio, because I noticed virtually no difference between the audio with that enhancement on or off. The audio sounded like digital audio, like it usually does, because that's what it is. So I really don't know. As a matter of fact, there's other settings like some automatic contrast fix and some black level fixing that they're trying to do digitally. I just turned all that stuff off. I was noticing very strange artifacts, particularly on screens that had a lot of black pixels. All of a sudden, some of them would like crackle. It would almost look like snow, like there was white trying to pop through it. I believe the TV was trying to show you more detail in those dark areas by not just making them all black, but it was very distracting because all of a sudden it looks like snow is happening in those black areas. So turn all that stuff off. It's weird because all the content we're watching now is digital. So anything outside of digital artifacts, I don't know why those settings are enabled in the first place. You know, if you're hooking up your TV to a roof antenna and you get some snowy pictures, then I can see why some of those settings would be there. You know, they're going to try to knock some of the grain out of that snow and try to make the image a bit prettier. But that is not working for digital content, and everything I watch is digital. It's either streaming or it's a disc or I'm playing a video game or something like that. So anyway, after living with the TV for a while, finding those settings, I am super, super happy with it. I love it. It's beautiful. I look forward to the end of my days the end of each day, not the end of my days. That sounded weird. I look forward to when it's all over, when it's just me and the TV. No, at the end of the day, I look forward to going upstairs and always kicking back and watching something cool on that new TV. It's beautiful. So, speaking of, I cheated today. I actually went upstairs to watch something before the end of my day because I wanted to talk to you about it on this episode of the Geek Corner, and that is that I saw Star Trek Continues Episode 6 has been released. Now, if you haven't seen any of my Geek and Dorks reviews on Star Trek fan fiction, in my opinion, Star Trek Continues is one of the best fan fiction shows, if not the best, particularly for the Star Trek universe. If you're a fan of the original series with Kirk and Spock and Scotty, Star Trek Continues it's the most respectful job that I've seen in terms of handling that content and trying to make new episodes that look and feel like those old episodes. Their lighting is amazing, the costumes are amazing, of course the sets are amazing, and this is a very special team of dedicated people that bring that show to life. So for them to get to their 6th episode, I'm extremely thrilled with. This is also the start of kind of a new season. They did a Indiegogo campaign a couple months ago, and they were raising money, I think, for 3 episodes, maybe 4, depending on how much they raised. So this is the first episode of that fundraising round to come out. And I just hope, I'm keeping my fingers crossed, that they don't get into any legal problems, because I know Paramount and CBS have started acting weird with some Star Trek fan productions. They claimed on their Indiegogo campaign that there was no issue, that they were a nonprofit organization and they should be able to create Star Trek fan fiction no problem. But I don't know that intellectual property necessarily supports that. I don't think just because you're a nonprofit organization that it's okay for you to use other people's intellectual property at your whim. I'm not totally sure about that. I know in terms of fair use, it's one of the points is if you're not making money on it. However, they are raising funds via Indiegogo. I assume that they were paying some of their crew in some way, maybe not the cast, but I think some of their crew, maybe the makeup people or the costumers or something. So if anyone's making money, I think it gets a little weird in terms of it being a nonprofit organization. So I'm just hoping and praying that they don't run into any legal problems, particularly because Paramount is now looking to start their own web series of Star Trek in 2017. It's not going to be about that era. It's not going to be about Kirk and Spock. So I think there's a lane for Star Trek Continues to live in. But we do know that with one of our other Star Trek fan universes, I believe it's called Axanar, if I'm saying that properly, they are facing legal trouble with CBS Paramount. So just a quick little review on episode 6 of Star Trek Continues. First of all, it looked awesome on my TV. The colors pop. It's beautiful up there, particularly because it's such a colorful show. They've kept with all the original colors from the original series, and in the 60s there was some funky color design going on in terms of set and costumes, but it's extremely vibrant, and this episode looked great. The writing, just a little notch below what I usually see from the Star Trek Continues crew. However, it still feels like an old Star Trek. Not every episode of the original series was the best in terms of how the stories were told, especially not how the special effects and costumes came together. If I have any gripe about episode 6 of Star Trek Continues, they have a creature costume in this one, and the design looks much more like a Power Ranger villain than a Star Trek creature design. It still works okay, but it kind of sticks out a little bit in terms of the authenticity of the old series. This creature they wouldn't have built a costume like that back in the 60s, at least in my opinion. Things looked a bit hokier, but this one, it really looked like it belongs in the Power Rangers universe. So just a small little knock. And like I said, the writing just a little below where it usually is, but still extremely enjoyable. And I think this is just them getting re-revved up for the new season. I'm hoping that we get some very strong episodes after this. And I'm just excited. I love that show. So happy to see it back. And quite honestly, I might love that show more than watching the original series. I think I've seen the original series enough, so it's really cool to see how this crew is extending that story out. And even if the stories aren't top-notch, at least we're getting something that's new and different, which is awesome. And once again, it's the power of YouTube. I'm so happy to be part of this format. I love that there's content creators that are able to do things like that. I love that I was able to make my own show when I wanted to, and have a home to put that, a place where other people can come and find it and see it. It's very, very cool. So all my best to the Star Trek Continues crew. I hope they keep boldly going where no web series has gone before. And I hope you have enjoyed this Geek Corner all about my fancy new TV and Star Trek Continues. Have a great one, and I will catch you next time on the Geek and Dorks channel.